everyone, Squee here, and welcome back to another episode of Dragon Ball Z League 101. In the last episode, we covered what you're actually watching when you watch a Dragon Ball Z League match, as in what's on the screen. And in today's episode, we're going to cover what characters can do to generally lay the smackdown on their opponents. But first, let me quickly cover something I actually forgot to talk about in the last episode, and that is the little icons that you can find underneath your health bar. Those babies right there. Now these are buffs or penalties to your different stats, and each stat is represented by a certain symbol. The red fist equals melee damage, the blue lightning equals super damage, which I will explain later in this episode. The aura is how fast you can charge your energy, and the Saiyan armor is your defense. Now, there are a variety of ways to achieve these through certain support moves, through different Pataras, etc, etc. If it is brightly colored, it is a boost. It is some sort of boost to that stat to make it better. If it is grayed out, it is a penalty. It is hurting that stat. Usually these are penalties you suffer for using certain moves. The move will give you a boost for a certain amount of time, but afterwards you suffer a penalty to a certain stat. These should have been covered in the last episode. Unfortunately, I completely forgot, so they're being covered now. So, with that said, we're going to jump right into it. The most basic thing that a character can do is a melee combo, or what we call rush combos. This entails basically your character coming up to the other character and punching or kicking them in a combo, just like any other fighting game. Now, they're called rush combos when they do that. There are also smash attacks, which allow you to knock your enemy back a great distance and even follow up and hit them several times. You can even ping-pong them as a sort. I'm including all of these in melee combos, but it's important to note that there's a difference between rush combos, which is just running up there and punching and kicking them in a combo, and smash attacks, which is where you hit them so hard they go flying and you follow after them. There is also throws. This is a special grapple mechanic that every character has, that you can grab your enemy and either, mostly you just do damage to them. Sometimes you will drain health from them, or other nasty things depending on what the character is and what their special abilities are. Another basic attack is called the Rush Blast. The Rush Blast are small blasts that every character can fire out that uses a small amount of ki and does a small amount of damage. They're generally used for distraction, to break up combos, attacks, moves, and just add a little bit of extra damage onto whatever you're doing at the time. You can also charge Rush Blast to fire out what they call an Energy Blast, which is a slightly stronger version of the same thing. They can sometimes have special attributes. Sometimes it can shock the opponent for a small second of time. Other times it's very slow as it travels to the enemy, and we've seen many times where you can fire one off, continue a combo, and have the Energy Blast hit them while they're distracted. All of these moves take ki. The next special move that you have, the next step up basically, other than melee combos and rush combos, which for some characters that's their bread and butter, and there's nothing wrong with that, but you also have what we call Blast 2 moves. I don't know why they're called Blast 2, or when I get later, the Blast 1 moves. Just to cover that now, I don't know why that was the name chosen for them, but that's what the game calls them, so that's what we call them. There are two main types of Blast 2 moves, and all Blast 2 moves use energy or ki, so you need a certain amount of ki in order to pull one off. You have your Beam Blast 2s, which are your Kamehamehas, your Gallic Guns, your Special Beam Cannons, all of those moves that you shoot energy out at a player. Sometimes they can be barrage moves, where you fire off several energy balls at once, or sometimes they're just one powerful beam, or sometimes they're a ball of energy, where you actually unleash a ball of energy instead of a beam. They take many shapes and forms, but they all boil down to the same thing. It's a beam move fired using ki that can either hit or miss your target. Then you have Rush B2s. Rush B2s are cutscene moves where you literally rush to your opponent and do some sort of unblockable combo or cutscene attack. Sometimes it can be knocking them back and forth. Sometimes it's just a really powerful blow. The variety is extreme and amazing, but the point is to recognize the difference between the two. A Rush B2 requires the character to actually rush the opponent and connect with that combo. Once you've connected with it, the full combo will go off. So just like a beam attack, it's either it hits or it misses. Those are your two types of B2 moves. Now, the average Blast 2 move with nothing helping the strength is around 7,000 to 8,000 points of damage. And as I said in the last episode, remember each health bar is 10,000 points of damage, and there are 4 health bars, so the average character has 40,000 points of damage. So a special move does on average 7,000 to 8,000. You have stronger ones, you have weaker ones. That's just your average. And of course in customization you can make them stronger or weaker depending on how you build the character. And the average cost for a Blast 2 move is around 3 bars of ki. There are some that cost 2 bars of ki, but they're generally weaker. And there are some that cost 4 bars of ki, but they are generally stronger. I don't think there's any Blast 2 that costs more than 4 bars of ki. There are ultimates, but I'll get to those in a second. So, those are Blast 2 moves. Then you go on to Blast 1 moves. Blast 1 moves are support moves. They take up the Blast Stock. They don't use ki, but they use that Blast Stock I talked about in the last episode. These moves help your character in ways other than just typical damage. There are a huge variety of things that you can do. They can blind an opponent or tie them up for a short period of time, stun them. They can help you dodge attacks instantaneously, as in like you basically teleport away from the attack. They have certain ones that you will teleport from attacks for a set period of time. You have the ability to fully recharge your ki. Sometimes they'll make your stats stronger or weaker. B1s will commonly give you stat modifiers. They will make your attack stronger, or your super move stronger, or your defense better, or your charge rate better. Different characters charge at different rates in this game, so sometimes that can be helpful. B1s also can block incoming attacks through an explosive wave or an android barrier or all sorts of different things like that. So there's even a Blast 1 move for Yajirobe that will fully regain his health. Other characters will have some Blast moves that recover, Blast 1 moves that recover a bar of health. So your Blast 1 moves have a huge variety of what they can do, and almost none of them deal with direct damage. So as a team builder, you have to just know what each character can do and know if it's something worth building up or just ignoring. Then we have the strongest moves, ultimates. Ultimates can only be used when in max power mode, which I will be covering in the next episode. Ultimates are the strongest move your character can have. It generally requires 4 to 5 bars of ki, plus being in max power mode, and it can be anything from a beam to a rush move to some really strange moves like Captain Ginyu's. They will typically do between 12 to 15,000 points of damage. Those are the average ones. You have stronger ones that will get up into the 17,000 points of damage range. You have a very select few, if they meet certain requirements, that can go into the extreme 20 and even 30,000 points of damage range, but those are rare. The common is between 12 to 15,000 points of damage. Unaided, there are lots of custom abilities you can put on characters to make these stronger or weaker, and I will cover that later. But the ultimates are the big guns. Lastly, what I want to cover in this video is what we call clashes. There are 2 types of clashes. There are rush clashes and then there are beam clashes. Rush clashes, the most common one, are when 2 characters fly at each other in high speed. Either they are both engaging in a Rush Blast 2, because like I said, remember when you do a Rush Blast 2, you have to fly towards the opponent at a really fast speed and connect. If 2 characters do this at the same time, or if they're both just flying at high speeds at the same time, they will enter what's called a Rush Clash, in which case the camera will circle around them while they fight at super high speeds. One person will win the clash and kick the other one away and do between 3,000 to 4,000 points of damage. This is a Rush Clash. The more rare one, the less common one, is the beam clashes, and this is what happens when 2 characters fire off 2 beam moves at the same time, and you get the same basic effect. The beams will clash and the characters will struggle back and forth to see who can beat back the other opponent's beam and hit them with it. Now, these are rarer and they do more damage. Basically, they will add 3 to 4, sometimes even 5,000 points of damage onto the damage of the B2 itself. So a B2 move that was normally 7,000 points of damage is now 11,000 to 12,000 points of damage for winning that clash. They are very good to do and bad to lose, and there are patars that you can put on your character that will help them in these clashes. Well, that's it for today's episode. In tomorrow's episode, we're going to cover max power mode and what that can do for your character. So until then, everyone, take care.